your hand if you listen to my podcast. If you don't, it's fine. Alright, fuck you. No, I got a podcast called BLAP-KITS. If you're here, you definitely should check it out. It's on iTunes and SoundCloud.
For me, there were a few, I call them milestones, where it was just like moments where they were like reminders that like this was like my calling. I was like still in my mom's basement, like just like a kid, like figuring shit out. And I got a message on MySpace from an A&R at G-Unit. And this was when like 50 Cent and G-Unit were like, you know, moving 10 million records an album. And so he was like, yo, I heard some of your stuff, send me more beats. I'm looking for beats for like 50 Cent and Lloyd Banks and all these guys. And this was like at the peak of their shit. And I was like, bet. And then so I took like 30 of my dopest tracks, sent them over to him. And then a couple days later, he hit me back and he was like, yo, I'm with Sean Money XL, the president of G-Unit. He loves your tracks. He wants to meet you. So then I met up with them like a week later in the city, and I had to sit down with them, and then I signed like a little management deal with them, and they hit me up with some bread, and moved out of mom's basement and moved to Jersey City and like copped this crazy crib and like spent all my money. It was so stupid. It took 6 years of me in the basement, broke, struggling to like even get to that point, you know what I mean? So there's 1,000,001 ways to do it. The process that I recommend and prefer is shopping to people that you have a relationship with, you know? So the best way to build up a rapport with someone who's looking for records is to just like have the right records. So like if it's an A&R, like if it's like Justin Bieber's A&R, like they know what they want. If they hear someone with really amazing top line and you're like not hard to deal with, they'll fuck with you, you know? So like it's really just about trying to access these people, get them to hear your shit. And if the records connect with them, then you'll get those callbacks for sure, you know? Cause like everyone needs top line, you know? There's no one's really writing their own records. So really good records go a long way. Sit down, man. No.
You just never know.
I was up late though, like 2 or 3 in the morning type.
It sounds like
it was on the side. I was just watching YouTube. I was like, oh, I gotta get that.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a late night track. Like windows down, 3 a.m.
Swinging on the bowl.
For real?
Yeah, no, exactly.
I keep digging into it until I like it enough for me to want to use it. That's all it is. Like every snare, every kick, every hi-hat, every sweep that you hear on all my kits, is every single one of them individually is shit that I personally fuck with. So I'll keep tweaking a snare until I feel like, yo, I want to use this one on my own shit. If you can get that on Rap Caviar, then it would go. Rap Caviar is the #1 hip hop playlist on Spotify. I think it's the most listened to in the world. So there's a number that went out. I think it's like a 95% success rate. So if you're an unknown artist and you get a record on the Rap Caviar playlist on Spotify, then you're basically guaranteed to blow up. And like one person controls that playlist. So a good friend of mine just walked in, Miss Symbolyc One. You guys familiar? So clap it up for my man S1 in the back.
Like, how do you find that balance when you know a beat's done?
For me personally, I know you have like, it's so hard, right?
That's something that we had to learn.
Yeah.
You know, because like when we first started, like, it was all about the beat. But I think once you start working with artists and songwriters, then that's when you start pulling back. You know, like real quick, I remember like when I first got my publishing deal, they put me in a session, my first session with a songwriter, and it was Chris Styles. She's an amazing songwriter, and you know, I had never worked with a songwriter in the studio, so we get in the studio. And I play these beats. I play like 5 beats for it. And then after I play the 5 beats, she's blown away. And she's like, "Wow, these are amazing." But then she said, "But there's no room for me to write."
Yeah.
So right there, like it made sense. Like we have to think of that voice as an instrument. So yeah, I think once you start working with songwriters, you'll know what's too much and what's not enough. You know?
Yeah, that particular beat sounded like there wasn't too much going on. Like, you didn't really overdo that. So I would say that is a good example of like something that's like has enough room for vocalists. But you know, again, like when you start working with more vocalists, you'll start to understand like what S is saying, like knowing what is like overdoing it, and then like how to keep it real simple. I really like the pads and like the different like sounds you used. I think the textures are really great. I love the snare, the drum sound. Is that a BLAP-KIT? No.
Yeah.
Yeah. No wonder. No wonder why I love it so much. There's certain notes in there that are kind of throwing me off a little bit. And like, trust me, I'm all about like experimentation and doing weird shit, but just some of the musicality in there, like some of those pads that you had were clashing with like the bass notes. And I think a beat like this, the bass notes like are really important because they're like really driving the track. Yeah. Did you know you did a 7+9?
No.
Ah.
Yeah, really?
Well played.
I used to play the piano when I was younger, but I mean, like, I kind of just played by
ear.
I
Yeah.
could read
Whoa,
a little bit.
because it's true to it though.
Yeah.
Man, and
Very
it doesn't
cool.
sound like it, and it's like you go, where are you?
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, wow.
Yeah, there's like a mystique to the track. Like it's like, it keeps you like on the edge. There's like a cool emotion, yeah. You gotta introduce those characters. You know, like, you know, when we love, the movies we love, 10 times out of 10, it's because we love the characters and we want to know what happens to them. You know what I'm saying? And then like the really shitty movies are like people we don't really care about, like, right? I'm right. 100% right. Take that second verse, boom, rewrite the second one. Yeah, that's a good song.
I always keep the mentality, and the mentality that I always kept is I'm gonna do everything for myself, and what anybody, whether it's my manager, whether it's my publisher, whatever anybody does outside of me is extra. And just keep that mentality.
It's like cherry on
Nobody's gonna
top.
work as hard as you for you. Yeah.
Do what you can, like make sure all these elements like make sense together. Because right now it just sounds like separate tracks, like 2 or 3 different tracks just playing in sequence. So just figure out a way to get all of these different parts to communicate.
Then another thing too is like, I think some of the drum samples could be a little better. You know, like some of them are a little thin. But that's just choosing the right, substituting those with better samples or sounds.
There's this plugin I like to use called Decimort from a company called D16. You guys use that? Raise your hand if you use Decimort. Yeah. It's like a preamp. Yeah, it's crazy, right? Yeah, look into it. You know, try it on your kick drums and some of your snares just to give them a little bit more meat. Decimort, D-E-C-I-M-O-R-T.
Transient master as well.
Yep, Transient Master, Decimort, Transient Master. It's a good combo. Real simple. What I'm gonna start to do is I'm gonna create like a group email chain with everyone here, so you guys can like further connect that way. We can keep in touch. I think I'm gonna try to do like Facebook groups for each city I do, so just keep a lookout for that. I might shoot you an email for your Facebook info, and then we'll start a group. But definitely, regardless, keep in touch with each other. You guys are amazing. One more round of applause. Great.